I don't know if you guys have ever seen Maya Sunderer in Reclamation in the Sky, but it's really creepy. Anyway, here's me taking a bunch of Cabal and Thresher by just using Unbreakable. I'm literally unkillable. I'm not even losing my health. I still have my overshield and I'm just getting obliterated. Then here's me in a 6-man activity. I'm fighting the Pumpkin King and his minions. It's Grandmaster level difficulty. And I'm also just shielding everything while my teammates do the objective. Literally makes me unkillable. And then in this next clip, you guys are going to see me in Mythic Plus level content solo, just tanking stuff, just taking damage from all the high end champions and enemies that we face in Mythic Plus. Mythic Plus normally kills you right away, but we're just shielding everything with Unbreakable. And then we're also stringing things up and creating sunspots, which are going to heal us, grant us ability energy, and ignite our enemies. Next, we're going to get into the gameplay loop for this build, but first, if you guys enjoy this type of content, please don't be afraid to give this video a like. It really helps me a lot, and I really appreciate it. Alright guys, so for the gameplay loop on this, we're going to pop our Unbreakable shield here, and we are just going to charge it all the way up on the left by taking damage. Then we're going to release it and kill enemies. Then we're going to use our Barricade and our melee ability, and our Unbreakable shield is actually going to be basically back up. We're going to charge it again, and we are going to use it to kill more enemies. And then we'll pick up any of the items that we created to get more energy back. And then, as you can see, we have our abilities back up again. So to speak a little bit about on what this build brings to the table, obviously it makes us unkillable with our Unbreakable shield, and it does a lot of damage to enemies. It's great for ad clear, but it also creates fire sprites, sunspots, ignites characters, suspends them, grants us radiant, and we also get a cure effect. It also grants our teammates radiant. We get a cure effect anytime we get a kill with our Unbreakable shield. So it's a really good supportive build, but it's also really fun and does a lot of damage. This build starts off with the Prismatic subclass and the Strand super Blade Fury. Blade Fury is going to be used to kill ads, create orbs of power, and suspend lots of targets. It's also good for boss damage and just getting out of a pinch. For the abilities in this build, we're going to be using Rally Barricade, Thunderclap, and Shackle Grenade. We're going to be using Rally Barricade to suspend enemies and ignite them, and you'll see why we can do that later in the build, so stick around. And then we're going to be using Thunderclap just to clear ads and get amplified so that we can have increased grenade regeneration. And then Shackle Grenade, we're actually going to be using it to just suspend targets, but we are also going to be pairing Shackle Grenade with our Void Aspect Unbreakable. So if you guys saw those clips from earlier, we were literally using Unbreakable and we were literally unkillable. So what Unbreakable does, it allows us to hold down our grenade button to summon a void shield that draws hostile fire and blocks a portion of incoming damage. And while it's active, it's actually going to drain our grenade damage over time. But with this build, it's never going to drain our grenade damage as long as we're taking damage and have an overshield. But to add to this, we are also going to be able to shoot a frontal blast. The higher the charges, the more damage that frontal blast will do when we release this void shield. And to give this frontal void blast even more damage, we're going to be running 200 grenade damage because the shield output damage scales off our grenade ability. Moving along to our second aspect, we're actually going to be running Dringer's Lash. Dringer's Lash is going to allow us to activate our Barricade, and it's going to create a ripple in reality that travels forward along the ground, and it suspends targets that it hits. So essentially it's great for crowd control, and it's going to help us keep our teammates alive, which is really what this build is about. Moving along to our fragments, this is where our build really kicks it up a notch. So for our first fragment, we're actually going to be using the Facet of Hope. So anytime we have an elemental buff, our class ability is going to regenerate more quickly. It's going to be really important because we want to cast lots of barricades to suspend and ignite lots of targets. Then we're going to be running the Facet of Balance. Rapidly defeating target with light damage grants melee energy, and rapidly defeating targets with darkness grants grenade energy. So we're going to be using both types, and we're going to get lots of energy back. So we're going to be able to spam our abilities. For the third fragment, we are using the Facet of Devotion. Defeating targets afflicted with stasis or strand debuffs grants bonus light transcendence energy. We will be defeating lots of targets that are afflicted with strand energy, so it'll be really good for transcendence and getting it quickly, which is great. And then we're going to be running the Facet of Awakening. Rapidly defeating targets with lighter darkness damage or super final blows generates an elemental pickup of matching damage type. This is insane. We're going to get lots of different elemental pickups, and most of them make us tanky, give us health back, or regenerate our abilities. And then we're going to be running Facet of Mending, Grenade Final Blows Cure You. So anytime we get kills with our Unbreakable Shield, we are going to get Cure, which is awesome. We are going to get health back more than we expected, and we're also going to get increased strength of Cure anytime we get Transcendence Grenade Final Blows. And then for our final Prismatic Fragment, we're running the Facet of Dawn. Powered melee hits are going to make us radiant, and powered melee final blows are going to make us and nearby allies radiant. So radiant's great for dealing with enemy champions. It's also great for just improving your weapon damage. So we're just going to be buffing up our teammates and ourselves, and it's just going to be a great time. Alright guys, now let's talk about our weapons. So in the primary slot, I opted into running the new MELTS. The new MELTS is an exotic pulse rifle, an exotic rocket pulse rifle that has an exotic perk called atomizing rounds. Essentially, you can shoot rounds at targets and they embed themselves in targets. And when you activate your rounds, they explode, and if you shoot them enough times, they can suspend targets. The new MELTS also has a exotic catalyst perk called Unraveling Blast. So anytime you shoot your weapons explosions or detonate them, it's going to unravel nearby targets as well as suspend them. This gun is awesome, and it pairs really well into the seasonal artifact mod. And then in the secondary slot, just use whatever you'd like, something that deals with champions or something with incandescent. That's what I recommend. Incandescent just goes really well with this build and will get to ignite a lot of targets. And then in the heavy slot, if you have something that's supportive, just to add to the supportive build, use it. But I just opted for this for one of the new crossbows. I think they're really fun to use. You could always throw in a rocket launcher or an LMG or something that has some sort of effect that supports the team. Alright, now let's talk a little bit about armor, guys. For the exotic armor piece, we're going to be running the Titan Mark Stoicism. And the two perks on the Stoicism we're going to want are Spirit of the Bear and Spirit of the Horde. Spirit of the Bear allows us to move faster while guarding with the Unbreakable Shield. Damage blocked with Unbreakable Shield is converted to grenade energy. So we are going to get grenade energy back based on the amount of damage we block with it, which is awesome because you can almost instantly have this ability back up after you use it. And then Spirit of the Horn is going to allow our class ability to unleash 3 waves of solar energy that damage and scorch nearby targets. Combatants damaged and guardians defeated by these waves are enveloped by a sunspot. And then if pairing this with our fragments, it's also going to create fire sprites, which is really, really good, guys. So for the archetype, we're going to be running the Grenadier archetype. We're going to shoot for 200 grenade and 100 super. Nothing, the rest of the stats really don't matter, but obviously you want to get them as high as possible, especially for your grenade and your class abilities, since you'll be using those the most. And then for the armor set, I recommend using the Last Discipline armor set. So it has 2 perks. So if you're wearing 2 pieces of the Last Discipline armor set, you're going to get Terminal Velocity, which Final Blows with primary ammo weapons grants your primary ammo weapons temporarily increased reload speed. Really good for the sub we were using. And then if you're wearing 4 pieces of this armor, you're going to get Power Loader, which picking up an Orb of Power grants special ammo progress. And since we're going to be using the new MELTS as our main form of damage, we're going to get lots of special ammo for this weapon, and it's going to be great. Alright, now let's talk about our armor modifications. For our helmet piece, we're going to be running Harmonic Siphon, Solar Siphon, and Ashes to Asset. So anytime we get a rapid final blows with our primary or secondary weapon in this build, we're going to get Orbs of Power, which is good and supportive. And then we're running Ashes to Asset, so anytime we get kills with our Unbreakable Shield, we're going to get increased super energy, which is really good. On the gauntlets, we're going to be running Impact Induction, Firepower, and Firepower again, so that we create Orbs of Power on our final blows with Unbreakable Shield, and we get increased cooldown on our grenade ability anytime we get a hit with our melee ability. And then for your chest piece, just run whatever resistance mods fits the encounter you're on so that you don't die. And then on the leg pieces, we're going to be running Better Already and Double Absolution just for increased healing and better ability cooldown. On our Titan Exotic Armor piece, we are going to be running Double Distribution and Reaper so that we can create Orbs of Power after we use our class ability with Final Blows, and then we can also get increased ability regeneration anytime we use our class ability. Alright guys, now let's move on to seasonal artifact mods. I'll throw them up on the screen, but here's what I've been running. So Anti-Bear, Scout and Pulse, Unstoppable Sidearm and Hand Cannon, Overload Rapid Fire. Then we're going to be running Tightly Woven. While Woven Mail is active, we get increased class ability and grenade stats. We're also going to be running Threadling Proliferation. Dealing strand damage has a high chance to spawn a threadling. Defeating strand debuff targets increases the chance. Then we're going to be running Elemental Benevolence. Granting allies an elemental buff generates a class ability energy. Then we're going to be running Refresh Threads, picking up an elemental pickup matching your subclass element, or picking up a Tangle while you have a strand super equipped grants energy to your least charged ability. That's big. Then we're going to be running Cauterized Darkness, just makes strand stasis. Debuff combatants take increased solar damage, which is great for our build. And then we're going to be running Elemental Coalescence. Defeating targets has the chance to create an elemental pickup matching your equipped super type. So we're going to be able to create more balls of strand. And then we're going to be running Energy Acceleration. Sustained damage with micro missiles causes the combatant to emit kinetic shockwave that damages nearby combatants. Since our main weapon is a pulse rocket, we are going to be having lots of kinetic shockwaves that damage nearby combatants. And then we're going to be running Shield Crush. While you have Woven Mail, Frost Armor, or a Void Overshield, your melee recharges faster, so we're going to have really high melee recharge rate. And then we're also going to be having Tangled Web. Creating a tangle by defeating a strand debuff target suspends nearby combatants, which is just really supportive for our teammates, and that's what this build's all about. Alright guys, that's the build. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. There will be a dim link below if you guys just want to copy it. Thanks for watching as always, and if you guys want to support the channel, just like, subscribe, or comment. Those are all free ways to support the channel. It really helps me out a lot. And thanks for watching again. As always, peace!